Time now for the call of the day. Argus Research downgrading Boeing to hold today. They say management has not been proactive in its response to the 737 MAX crisis. Shares are subject to downward pressure as the investigation plays out. It is our call of the day. Stephanie Link calling the slide in the shares a, quote, gift.
I do.
When I walked out to the set.
Yeah, it wasn't fun last week, for sure. It hasn't been fun for the last couple of weeks. But I think the short term, it's very volatile. And we don't really have a lot of answers, and that's the problem short term. But long term, I just think the fundamentals are very, very strong for this company. It's a duopoly. Passenger growth is growing 6 to 7% per year. Their backlog is at 6 to 7 years and growing. This company has done a great job in terms of execution and free cash flow growth and margin upside. So there's a lot of ways to win for the long term. It's going to be volatile. It kind of reminds me of my GE call, but I think GE and Boeing are my two favorite industrials, and that's because you don't really have to worry so much about kind of macro. These companies have to fix themselves and fix the issues, and I think that they will.
So you added today, you added last week, and it sounds like you will be a buyer on any dip.
Especially at 350, yes. It's a free cash flow yield of 8.5%. I don't think it even gets to 350, but if it does, I'll buy more.
Okay.
Hit 366 three times, Judge, since this bad news came out, horrible news. And it held all three times. It got down there, and like even yesterday, when it got down to 366 in the pre-367, I think we were talking here on the desk during the session yesterday, and bounced. China made a threat, but it's a very weak threat that they might carve this one out, the 737 MAX, out of trade negotiations for things they'd buy. They can't go to Airbus for this. Airbus can't make enough of those to fill what China needs. So your duopoly, 100% spot on. They've got to buy them from both when you're as big as China. They're 25% of aviation purchases over the next several decades. Boeing's just fine, but for me, it's a trade. I love that Stephanie and Jim are buying, but I'm more.
Jim's not buying. Jim is on the other side of both you guys.
I am a trader of this, especially when it breaks 370. I get aggressive and I buy it, but I'm usually just holding it a few days because it's a trade for me.
So a couple of things have me on the sidelines here. And Steph, you and I are going to agree. We can have a long discussion about the long-term investment thesis here, and we will completely agree. The problem is the news cycle is very far from over. You've got things like yesterday where there's these accusations of coziness between the FAA and Boeing. You're going to see more accusations, more news cycles like that coming out over the coming weeks, and I just think it's too early. On top of that, this is a stock that's tripled over 3 years. So there are a lot of long-term holders here who probably have not wanted to sell for tax reasons. And as this news continues to come out, some of them will at least get shaken from that tree and start to sell. 350, that might be too far for it to go down, but I think I'm going to be able to buy it lower than here, maybe in the 360s, maybe in the 350s. I'm just going to wait, if only because the news cycle is very far from over here.
There are 150 million new passengers traveling by plane a year. And that is not going to change. And that is one of the reasons why I think the stock has done so well over the years, because this has gone from a cyclical kind of story to a secular growth story.
And again, you and I will agree. We haven't even talked about defense.
No, but it's down 10% in a month.
Yeah.
And you're suggesting that that's not enough?
Because,
right, it was down more. Now it came back. Just like Apple was down more, then it came back. Yeah. You only get one, perhaps in a market like this, you're so certain you may get another crack.
Well, look, I'm not certain, but I've got plenty of other places to make money and will make money. I don't need to have a position in Boeing. There are a lot of fish in this ocean where I can make money. But what my point is I don't want to take a position where I see the risk to the downside. Why is that risk to the downside? Is because we don't know what the costs are. We don't know what the costs are going to have to be compensation to airlines for the delays in deliveries. We don't know what the costs are for the retooling, if it's software or otherwise, what that retooling is going to cost. And I think as that news comes out, there will be other bites at the apple here. No pun intended, Scott.
I think the costs are irrelevant. I've seen this with Equifax, BP, name them, Volkswagen. I think you buy the stock too. I mean, sure, should you wait till 350 to get really aggressive? Yes, but you still got a defense budget that's up 5% year over year, and they're a duopoly. If you sell this, what are you buying?
Good point. What are you buying?
Okay, so, if you want to be in the industrial space, I see a better value with Caterpillar, to use my own term. I see that as pre-disastered right now. I see Boeing still in the middle of a disaster on the smaller cap industrials. I like something like Greenbrier. I see great value there. And then, of course, there's all sorts of, other industries besides these industrials that you can buy. My point being is listen, I hope you guys are right. That's fine. I'll make money in other stocks. I hope you guys are right, and if you're wrong, I'll buy it at a cheaper price.
Okay, and I'll hold you to that.